Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy, my channel's Finding Value. I'm going to go over gold and silver, do some technical analysis. I'm going to give you a little bit of opinion right now. I know the Fed is in there. They are manipulating all this stuff. They even admitted to manipulating the market. They're manipulating interest rates. That's quite obvious. Interest rates sets the prices of a lot of assets. They are going full game on with the prop-up mode for stocks and bonds. They do not want interest rates to go higher. They're trying to hold everything down, and they can also hold gold and silver down through the contracts. That essentially somewhat holds down the overall commodity complex because most people price commodities in gold. And if you hold gold down, that's kind of our leader for how much money's in the system. And like I've said before, inflation inflation and how much money's in the system is really what drives commodities in a commodity super cycle. There is some supply demand. That's why the ratio compresses against gold. That compression is the component of supply and demand. That's why it compresses against money. Gold, prices the whole sector upward. So you've got gold. If gold is accounting for the money supply and it gets priced upward, it's bringing the entire commodity sector with it. So the one way that they're trying to manipulate all this stuff is they hold the precious metals down to hold everything else down, because that is one of the components of controlling commodity prices. Now, I'm guessing their scheme is that they want the money to be directed towards bonds and towards stocks, because that is going to have less of an impact on, quote, the way they measure inflation through CPI numbers, consumer price index numbers. Because if commodities and gold fly higher, obviously they're going to have a large impact on the price of goods and services. So I have a feeling that they are a strong interest to hold all this stuff down. But I think eventually when you hit shortages of these things, it's not going to matter. And it's going to get revalued very quickly like that. So let's go into technical analysis here. I gave you my opinion on it. And this is for gold and silver. And it's mainly the companies. But the 10-year, we've got this chart here. I did it in the middle of the day. It might have even ended up a little bit more. We are in this downtrend, kind of sideways channel. We did a false breakout to the downside, and I think rates are going to go flying higher. People are going to figure out that this isn't transitory, that we've got the real estate market that's pumping inflation in. They also are printing money behind it. This is going to be ultra inflationary, I guess. And we'll probably go back up into that channel and eventually break the channel to the upside. That's a big guess. I know we've got the dollar here, and this doesn't update real time. I know it was up quite a bit today, like a 0.5%. I do think this is going to break to the downside. We entered this to the downside. A little weird how we kind of just popped up here, but usually they bounce like this. But we came in here. I think eventually it's going to go to the downside because of inflation. Maybe they're trying to prop things up. I'm not exactly sure why the dollar had a knee-jerk reaction higher, but it did. GDX, GDXJ, all these ones that I'm looking at, right? They went higher. They were cruising higher earlier in the day, and then it looks like they might have ended a little bit kind of with these wicks at the top. Maybe we go down a little bit more. Maybe we head higher. I do think they're in there manipulating stuff. They even admitted it. So I think these want to go higher naturally. I think something is holding it down. But that's GDX. There's GDXJ with the same type of pattern. It does look like it's getting a little bit, buyer stepped in today. We've got SILJ. It's at its support line here. I think hopefully this support line holds, but I do think they're in there jacking around with stuff. EXK already broke to the downside of its uptrend. It broke down. It could be a false breakout where people, they want to get people to sell out. They buy it and then they reverse it higher. Very common. Discovery Silver, same thing. It broke to the downside. It's just sitting there. Yamana Gold, it's sitting on this support line right now. Just chilling out. We've got Franco-Nevada's looking pretty good compared to everyone else. I mean, it's pulled far off its bottom here in March, and it looks like it wants to go higher. Wheat and precious metals, the same thing. I'd like for this to close strong at the end of the day instead of leaving this wick up there. And I'm sure they're probably going to drive gold and silver down tomorrow, maybe. And that's from a manipulation standpoint, not from a chart standpoint. Now here's Teuton Resources. This is one that I've been buying a little bit into. Here's the pattern. I bought in here before the break. I'm buying in here. Just sending some money in there. It's not a huge amount. I'm just whatever income I have. I'm putting a little bit in. This is zoomed in on the tip over here. You can see that we've got large up days and the small kind of leak off of sellers. So this thing's looking like it wants to go higher. And if gold and silver can get kicked in the butt to move higher, I think all these will do very well. But overall, I do think, they're in there. They admitted they're manipulating things. They're in there jacking around with interest rates. They're buying assets. I'm sure that they're trying to hold everything down in the commodity sector because that gets transferred into consumer price index at some point. So they're probably trying to do whatever they can all over the place. But usually what happens is manipulations don't last if they are trying to do that. And what I'm doing is I'm sitting tight in this stuff because I think one day when something happens, it's just gonna, go. It's gonna really take off. And you're either in or you're out. That's kind of my view on it. If you guys like this content, give me a thumbs up. Thank you for listening. This is Finding Value.